Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear community members, family and friends. So thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation, the third part, and thank you to Dr. Aman and Uncle Yusuf from Canada for doing the first and second parts for this. So I'm going to start my presentation by just showing us the journeys we've done. Our ancestors came from India and moved in the late 1800s and early 1900s to East Africa and Southern Africa. And then in 1972, we came to England. So that's the journey I'm going to be talking about. I'll give a little bit of background, a bit of how life was in Uganda, and then move through how we journeyed to the UK and how we settled in until the late 1970s. So how was life in Uganda? So some early recollections and pictures I managed to get from the archives. This is my Nana and Nana Bapu and my mum together. This middle picture is probably taken around 1930, which is a long time ago. So we've seen the second picture here, young Musa Hussein, Haji Musa Hussein. And then in the middle picture, we have Muhammad Osman and my Nana Bapu with him again. Notice they're all wearing these Ottoman Turkish caps, which were very common in the early 1900s. And then in the small pictures on the right, you can see my young Nana Bapu and then Hussein Fa, we have Qasim Sir, and then also Qasim Nana. This is a wedding picture. It's Fatma Nani and Ahmed Fwa. Lots and lots of familiar faces. I'll just name a few of them. Hawamasi here, we can see Haji Mahmoud Jusamawu and many others that you'll all recognize, I'm sure. So I'm not going to spend too long talking you through all of these. This is another occasion. I think this is Sabai Dadi. And this is her sister who was visiting from Mozambique. You can see a few other people here in Marim, Hanifa Nani from Derby. This is Miriam Masi and Rabia Masi, Sarah Nani and Keru Nani, to name a few. Asbay Masi and Jubeda Kaki on the flanks here. Lots of young faces. This lady here is Aman Uncle's grandmother. So a very nice photo showing the different ages and the different age distribution in our community at the time. This is a picture of my mother with my older brother Farouk, and this is a picture of Isa Nani, and you can see that is Ayub Mamu and the other siblings together. So a very precious picture and memory. A wonderful picture of Sarah Nani and Asia Masi in their prime, you can see. And then some pictures from the men's side. So we can see here, this is a very important person, patriarch of our community in some sense, Tayyib Dada. You can see Musa Hussein with Ghulam Mamu and Akbar Kaka, Muhammad Osman here. Many familiar faces here. I can see Hussein Farm, my dad, Qasim Sir. We can see Majid Mamu then, maybe Abu Talib Mamu in the right there, I believe. And in this picture, we can see Hussein Hassan Bolia, Jusab Lotta my Wadabapa, Abdul Karim Lotta, Ramzan Nana, Gulzamasi's father, and Haji Adam Chucha. So this, you can see our community was well integrated and well socialized with each other. You can see Abdul Mamu, my dad, Ibrahim Kaka. This is my cousin, I believe, Mebub. This is Mebub Chatra, Isu Kaka, and Ibrahim Kaka. Very well integrated and quite well established and settled. They'd been there from the early 1900s, and then around 1960s and 50s, they were very well established. This picture is of my siblings and our family home. You can see that's my Afzal Pa, Yasmin by Mebub Pa, Faruk Pa, Larku Pa. And here is our old family home, my dad's car. My dad is in the background here. Alarku Pa is there. And this handsome young figure here is my Mamu, Ayub Mamu, in his prime. So we had a lot of handsome young men, as you can see in this picture as well. You see Ghulam and Farooq. in their younger years. And Ghulam has a sports trophy there, so obviously had won some prize or something for a sports event. The ladies are here, we can see the young ladies. This is Jubaida Masi and Kausar Masi, I believe, and Juleka Fui and Mumtaz Kaki in the first picture. This picture here again is Kausar Masi with Zora Masi, Kerubai and Khatunbai, and then I believe is Abeda Masi and Nazira Bai, a nice collection of community members. And this picture here, we have Nasim Bai, we have Samim Bai, Sultana Bai from London, Gina Bai, Jubela Papi, my Papi, Jinet Bai from Birmingham, and we believe Hawa Masi is Mumtaz. And this picture is of Kausar Masi. So the ladies and the girls in their happy and joyful occasions having pictures taken, looking all wonderful. We have the Hussein brothers, and I believe the young gentleman there is Rahman Pa. This is Farouk and my older sisters here, and this is the Osman family on picnic, it seems. We think we've got Ismail Ba here. We think that could be Yusuf Mamu, but we're not quite sure. And then we have got Harun Fa at the front here. Mum Dadima is cooking here. And then we've got the Kerufi, Amna, and Fatma aunties all in blue with the backs to the camera. Kids are, looks like Sikandar, Zulfikar, Shama is here with Dadima, and then Anjuman in the background, we believe. Apologies for any omissions or mistakes in these identifications. So the late memories, and this is when I'm alive, I'm born in 1967 and conscious. I can remember my Dadima visiting us from India, and this is her. And I believe this is us taking Dadima back to the airport. You can see Asya Masi and Jerry Bai. I think that's Sama Bai, Mumtaz Bai, Kati Bai, and this is Khatun Bai, Halima Bai. I'm not sure the girl is in the yellow dress there, but this is, I believe, in the airport, taking grandmother back. So I do recall having visits from my grandmother around that time. This is a monumental photo. This is Sakunana's family. The very arduous journey from India, my dad and Sakunana made as two teenagers. They were around 14 years of age in 1942 during the wartime by boat. These were sailboats. So quite a difficult journey they made together. So they were bonded like brothers. And this is a picture, I believe, taken in 1970 before leaving Uganda to go and live in Pakistan. And I can certainly recognize the boys. This is Sabir, and I see Rashid there. I think that's Ghaffar, and then the girls. But an amazing picture of this family. They went on to Pakistan and then came back to UK at a later point in time. So finally, there's a nice picture of all the youthful people that were in Uganda and in schools. And this is obviously at some madrasa and school. So I'm just going to run through a few of those faces. So you can see this is Janeth Bai, and this is my brother Hanif. And this is Haji Mamu's Jarina Bai. This is Sultana Bai in London. Next to her is Mumtaz Bai from Northampton. Next to her is Afzal Ba. This is Fazila Bai from York. This is Khalil Ba. So this might be Sama, I think, Arbani, but we're not sure. This is the teacher, her name was Nuri, with her child, and then on this flank here, the young boy there is also her son. Next to Nuri, I believe, is my sister Sakila Bai. And then in the front row, we have Api Bai and my sister Roshan. So they were in school, they were probably just below the age of GCSEs, learning together. And you can see how integrated and cohesive our communities were, and how they were so connected with each other. They learned together, they ate together. Often schools were not in every town, so sometimes the children went and lived with close family and relatives, and certainly a number of my siblings did that. So we can see from these pictures that life in Uganda was quite established by the late 1960s. And the children and most people were in a reasonable state of living. Not everybody was wonderfully affluent, but still quality of life was good. So what was the journey like to UK? So this is the recollection of me as a 5-year-old. So I'm just going to share some experiences and some perspective on this. And hopefully it will make you remember this time. It was a difficult time for all of us. So my last visual recollection of Uganda, some of the last recollections include this. This is the lake in Katwe, Lake Katwe as it was called. And many of you would have visited our family home. They would be familiar with this site. And I do visually recall this, often think about this. So some other issues and memories that came from those last few days in Uganda, you can see this picture, I will explain it. But first I'd like to play a short video clip.
I will say that actually I took this decision for the economy of Uganda. And I must make sure that every Ugandans get a fruit of independence. Since independent, actually Uganda is not yet independent, I will say that. Even when the British handed over on the 9th of October 1962, the Uganda still not yet independent. Uganda will be independent after this, my decision, after I want to see that the whole Kampala street is not full of Indians. It must be proper black, and administration in those shops is run by the Ugandans.
Would you like to get all Asians out, really, sir?
Yes, they must go to their country.
Even nationals of Uganda?
If they want to go, they are welcome to go.
What will happen to these people if they don't go by the time limit?
I think they will be sitting like they are sitting on the fire. I will tell you this. You just wait after 3 months.
What will you do to them?
Okay, you will see.
You said you wanted Uganda.
I think they will not sit comfortably here in Uganda. I will tell you this. I must actually tell you the truth.
That swing from humor to seriousness is quite frightening, and this was part of his personality. So my recollections in the absolute last recollection of Uganda is being in the airport and being prodded by a very tall soldier with an assault rifle being pushed along. And I recall looking into his eyes, and they were a crimson red. It was a very frightening memory. And I'm sure many other people would have had not so good experiences. It was a very frightening time. One of the last journeys from Katwe to Mumbarara, I remember my father being stopped at a checkpoint and then being taken out of the car and taken to the camp, leaving me, my younger siblings, and all my cousin siblings screaming in the car, absolutely petrified about what was going on. Fortunately for my father, he saw one of the people that were in control there, had seen him in the mosque, and then that person said that he should be allowed to come back to the car. We were looted, but we came out with our lives intact. As a child, you don't normally understand these things, but this was truly frightening because we really understood the gravity of that situation. And me and my cousins, younger cousins and sisters, recall this quite often, because I recall it because of just hearing all of the screaming that was going on in the car and trying to get things under control. So those were my memories of Uganda as we left. The rocking horse and the Union Jack is my first memory of coming to the UK, We landed on the 14th of October, 1972 in Stansted Airport. Coincidentally, that happened to be my birthday, and we were taken to some temporary accommodation or shelter and eventually moved down to Cornwall, where we stayed at some army camps for some months. But I recall when getting, I believe, to Cornwall, I was met by a woman, an English woman, a very kind woman, who gave me a rocking horse. And I was like taken aback. It was one of these beautiful vintage wooden rocking horses. I can remember it. And what it was, she checked the passenger schedule, and actually it worked out. It was my birthday. And the kindness and the hospitality received in the camps, I think we owe enduring gratitude for. It's not the kind of things that we see nowadays. You see refugees are put in tents in camps far away from civilization, but our experiences were very human and extremely positive. So you can see there was this huge inflow of people, only with the material clothes and a few jewelry items allowed onto the planes, and they came into the UK not knowing what to expect. There was obviously some tensions. Not everybody had the most positive experiences in those earlier years. We were fortunate, I do believe, but I know of many other community members that had quite negative and quite difficult experiences settling in those early years. So this was a famous ad that Leicester Council decided to run in the Uganda Argus, trying to discourage people to come to Leicester. But we got here in the end. And you can see here, there's a picture of some of the earlier people we traveled with. You notice the date. There's the date, 14th October 1972 from Stansted Airport. And this is Abu Talib Mamu's passport. So this is something which confirms the date we all transited. In this picture, you can see Azad Ba and Farid Ba in their youth. They were a little bit older than me, I believe, or around the same age, possibly. And then we have Habib Nana and Amna Nani, who were of the older generation that also came with us during that time. My Nana Bapu and Nanima were with us as well. In this picture, you can see iconic vision of Nazira Mami, and this is this, I believe, is Amina Nani as well, with some of her children, not sure which ones. In this picture, you can see Nazira Mami, and I think this is Siptun Bai. So they were in different camps. I believe they were in Wales, but they came around the same time as us. Fortunately for all of us, there were some people in the UK, Aziz Mamu's family and Hawa Masi's family. So there were some people in the UK around. My brother Farouk was also here as a student, and then they helped us to just settle into the camps, and then eventually helped us to locate housing outside of the camps. So there were difficult times, but still very positive in the sense that the hospitality and the care we received from the camps and from the UK people is something we must appreciate for a lifetime. So these are pictures of Asbai Masi and Salaman Kak and the family. It's a wonderful picture. I really absolutely love this picture. So you can see Jailu Bai there, Gani Ba, Reman Ba, Khati Bai, Halima Bai, Jinu Bai, and Remath Bai all together. I believe Zoni Kadir Ba is not in the picture. So this was some media that was run around that time. So you can see the smiles on the kids' faces. They were in a safe place, in a good place. You can see also some of the pictures of us settling into camp life and around that time. So this is a picture of Abu Talib Mamu, and I think the pictures of Nawaz are in the Cornwall area probably, and yes, by the looks of the water, it must be Cornwall. And then also when they move and settle in the north with my father-in-law. Not everybody came to the UK. Some of our family and friends went to other parts of the world. So notably, my uncle's family went to Belgium. You can see my uncle's grandmother there. His Sakina Fui is there. His dad with Arif and also Asif Pa, late Asif Pa. And then we can see a picture of young Jinnat Pai with some friends from Belgium, early friends from Belgium. My elder brother himself, and also with Hussein Fa, and I believe Hanif Ba, my brother-in-law. They were in Austria for some time until the Heath government fell, and eventually they were let back into the UK. So these are some of the very early memories of the journey from Uganda to UK. So what was life like in early 1970s in the UK? Well, we came with the Edward Heath Conservative government, and you can see a picture of him with the Queen there. President Nixon was having some difficult times in the 70s as well in America. And politically, we had early 70s, 1973, we joined the European Union. So quite a lot was going on around the world. From a childhood perspective, these are visuals that I recall and remember with some fond memories. So the big Coca-Cola bottles, remembering that we probably used to share one of these amongst 10 children and 2 or 3 adults on a fortnightly basis, just one bottle, and then there'd be a bit of a scramble and a bit of a fight for the deposits, because these glass bottles used to have a few pence deposit, which you could buy some penny sweets with. The milk bottles I always found very fascinating for some reason. Television sets were rare. When we got ours, the first thing was all our neighbors came, sat with us and watched television together. It was quite a communal way of living. Hardly anybody had cars. But I think the most important memory I have is of the paraffin heaters, because we lived in very, very poor housing. Often with us, we were 10 children, 3 adults living in a 3-bedroom house with poor insulation. There was no insulation. In fact, single glazed windows, no central heating, incredibly uncomfortable to live in. But we were young and we were resilient. All my recollections, they must be so magnified because the adults that were with us and accompanied us from Uganda to here, their experiences of these were, I'm sure, terrifying compared to ours. So in the winter, we'd have to wear hats and gloves, dress fully clothed with 2 or 3 blankets. And although our houses were over-occupied, I'm not even counting the number of rodents that used to live in these houses with us. So we had some difficult years in the early 70s, no doubt. All families were struggling to find good and decent places of accommodation to live in. However, we managed to get through those years, and somehow the media and things always play a big role in culture. So I recall, and I'm sure many of us recall, a number of these people. So just to remind you about them, these were the iconic pop artists, Western pop artists of the 70s. And I certainly enjoyed lots and lots of airtime listening to their music, as I'm sure many of the people did at that same time. There were lots of great dramas that we used to watch on television because we had no social media or any computers to keep us all busy and occupied, but we had plenty and plenty of television. And some of the more memorable dramatizations I recall include Roots, Dallas, which came out in the late 70s. You can see Lenny Henry there with the breakfast team there. And Mind Your Language, and all-time favorite of many families, was Top of the Pops. So sitting together and watching that together was something which we all used to look forward to. So whilst we had Western media and culture to keep our spirits up, we also had wonderful stuff coming from Bollywood. So you can probably hear in the background to a famous track from Sholay, very exciting and interesting film we had in the 1970s, and some of the iconic actors and actresses of the 1970s. Many of our community members have sort of IDs looking like them. So just I'll let you remember who was who in this list, yeah, but and who they look like in our community. But I'll mention a few of them. As Amitabh Bachchan, Rekha, you can see Parveen Babu, Zinat Aman, Rajesh Khanna. I think that's Saif Ali's mum, if I'm not mistaken. But very iconic, very stylish. So we all had our favorites. We all enjoyed this a lot in the 70s. We didn't have VHS or videos to watch these at home, but we had some very rundown cinemas and theaters where we could watch these every now and then. So these were all the goodies. And then, of course, we all had our favorite baddies. So you can remember, I'm sure, Gabbar Singh there, Pran there, many, many famous villains. Prem Chopra, Ranjit, we all remember them fondly, I'm sure. So Bollywood stars were accompanied by amazing music that came from India. You can see pictures of Lata Mangeshkar and Mohammad Rafi there. But some of my early recollections on the music include this picture here with Noor Jahan. So I'm just going to quickly remind you of some of her melodic singing. So she came on the BBC in the early 1970s when there were hardly any ethnic people on TV. So it was so exciting to see a person of color on the television, and particularly listening to her melodic music. It stuck with me forever. An amazing performance. You can watch it on YouTube, the full 35-minute duration of it. It's really, really good. The second track I'm going to play out actually is from an older film, but it stays with me as being part of that era. So it's Jodhani Ka Chand, an amazing song. And although this film was in the mid-1960s, somehow I associate it so strongly to the 1970s in my early childhood memories. So I guess it's probably because I used to hear it a lot at home and around. So that's a second track that reminds me so much of the 1970s.
चौदहवीं का चांद हो या आफताब हो, जो भी हो तुम खुदा की कसम लाजवाब हो। चौदहवीं का चांद हो या आफताब हो, जो भी हो तुम खुदा की कसम लाजवाब हो। चौदहवीं का चांद हो।
So the last track I'm just going to play out is from Pakiza, which was an epic film of the 1970s. And I'm sure you all can remember this one. Incredible film and incredible music and artistic and cultural production. So there was East and there was West. And I guess there were things that probably transcended both East and West. So just put a pause to this music. This next visual is somebody, in my view, that really epitomized so much in the 1970s that was going on. Muhammad Ali, an incredible human being. I'm sure you all remember him and his life. Incredible man, incredible sense of humanity, and somebody who I think the world needs more of. But just to remind you of his words.
Fast. Last night I cut the light off in my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark.
Incredible.
Fast.
Incredible.
And you, George Foreman, all of you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him. All of you. I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
His words I could listen to forever, so I'm gonna pause it there. That's a picture of my sister Shamim with Muhammad Ali when he came to Birmingham. So many of our community members actually had the opportunity to meet with him. So something we should recall very fondly. Incredible man. So those are my earlier memories around the culture of living in the 1970s. We'll move on to how life was settling in for many of us in the next part. So in this section, we're going to talk about how life was settling in for all of our community in the UK. So most people got employments, and some of the bigger employers that our community were working with are mentioned here on this slide. So you got British Airways, Roundtree's in York, British Airways was in London, of course, by Heathrow. Jaguar Land Rover, very big employer around the Midlands. The NHS, British Leyland and Lucas used to be in Birmingham in the old days, and so did Taifu and Royal Mail. So some of these employers, some of our community members are still working for, so it's incredible length of service to think about. But these were the initial and primary employers of most of our community. So jobs and then homes and jobs. Sometimes the relocation of people from camps to York were coordinated between the two. So some of our community members also started to do enterprise, which is what our Ugandan Asian communities are renowned for. A lot of them also enterprise in the 1980s, the Needs and the Amsons and other businesses sprouted up in the late 70s and early 80s and mid 80s. And 80s and 90s was when they were. But this is from the Majority family, Bristol Sweet Market, which is a very long established business from our community. Also, people started to mature and started to get married and engaged. So some family wedding shots here, you can see it's got a bit of a sheen in the middle, but you can see Amina Bai there, my cousin Gulza Bai, my sister Karen Bai. And this engagement is my brother Afzal with Jubeda Babi. That's me in the front with the orange trousers, pink shirt. Same occasion, slightly different angle. You can see Aziz's mom with there and Hafiza Bai there. I think that might be This is Anwar Ba and Mustafa Ba in the back here. So we can see in the next photo, the best man, best ladies. That must be Hasina Bai, I'm sure. So correct me if I'm wrong. A wonderful picture and memorable in many ways. So very happy occasions were starting to take place as well. We see a wedding here is Aziz Kaka in Birmingham, I believe. So we got a picture in there. We have Idris Karbani in the corner here, Abdalib Mamu, Majid Mamu. This is little child. There is my dear beloved wife, Saira, is Aziz Kaka there, and of course Harun there as well from York. You can see more pictures there. I see Dharma Manana there in this picture with Aziz Kaka. That must be Nawaz there in front of Abdalib Mamu, Hanif Nana there. And this looks like it's my father-in-law's wedding with Musa Kaka next to him, Abdalib Mamu and Kader Mamu in the picture as well. So lots and lots of happy occasion. I do remember going to many weddings, enjoying good times with all our community members, spending many days around with them and enjoying the festivities. So we here, there's an impressive picture of the Hakra brothers. We got Hanif looking very iconic with the sunglasses and the shades. And then it looks, I guess that must be Nawaz just underneath him. Abdalib Mamu, and then we've got Habib and Kader as well. And then that must be Mumtaz and Ibrahim Kaka there as well. So a great photo of the family here, the brothers, and something which you can all remember them. Of course, many of them went and lived in Canada. So many of our community did go and live in Canada as well. So here's some more wedding photo. This is from my sister Roshan's wedding. You can see Saida Masi there, Juleka Masi here, there, Dadi, sorry, I should say. The sister-in-laws and mother-in-law and sister as well, full clan family of the Musa Hussein matriarchs there. You can see my mum, my Jima Miri Masi, and then the Asma Masi and Nurbanu Masi as well. So we got great photos and memories of all these people. They were incredible people. They went through the most difficult hardships and got us through to the UK. In this picture, you can see Babu Mamu as well, somebody who was very much part of our community in Birmingham. And Hanif Bai as well, you can see Hanif Chucha there. Okay, so the next slide is just that shown in a bigger resolution. You can see Akbar Ali's Abu Bakr Musa there, his father, Salman Kaka, Haji Mamu, my dad. I believe that's their teacher. They actually used to go to school together in Birmingham. In this other picture, I can see Tarmaman Nana, Abu Dada, I think that's Qasim Sir in the front, and Hussein Fan. That might be Faisal, if I'm not mistaken, Faisal Karbani, but I might be wrong there. And certainly in this picture, I'm sure that's Faisal with his Dada. Amazing picture. It's in black and white. Also, we have Akbar Chatra there, the other young person in that picture with Ghulam Mamu at the back. My Wadabapa Abdalib Mamu, Latif Nana. So again, showing how integrated we were as a community and how cohesive we were. That's just the same picture in bigger resolution. Some more wedding photos you can see. In this picture, I think this is my Freda Babi. It is my Freda Babi. Mumtaz Kaki. That's my mother-in-law, Kausa Masi. I think this is Rukia by Ayub's sister. And we got Mumtaz in yellow from Birmingham. Hussein Fan, my dad. So lots and lots of celebrations. So more pictures of our community socializing. You can see here Yusuf Majoti Abu Dada Karbani. This is Faisal Jussamamu in the picture with my father. In the lower picture, we got Ayub Mamu, my father, Hussein Fwa. The ladies there, you can see is Katumami, my Hubaima, and Rabia Nani as well, having fun on, looks like a hen party, actually, probably at my sister's wedding, Karen Bai's wedding. In the picture with all of the men standing there, you can see in the middle is my dad, Jussamamu, Yusuf Majoti. And then we have an array of Karbani family, some from York, you can see from London and from Leicester. A very special picture, actually. So our community was very integrated and socialized heavily in the 1970s. More pictures from the 70s. There's Yusuf Kaka with all of the young lads there at the time. You can see Salimba, Abzuba, Hanifba, Akramba, Alarkuba, Mebuba. You got a picture with Hussein Fan, Musa Dada here, Aziz Mamu in the background there. Some of our Turk friends and Iqbal there as well. Pictures of Hanif Nana looking very young, me with my sibling brothers, and also with Hanif Nana and Sakur Nana. So times were good. We weren't very well off. We had poor housing, but we had good health, and we enjoyed ourselves in the 70s. We had new members of the community joining us from different parts of the world. So this is a flag test. Starting with the top left, we've got Zimbabwe. After that is South Africa. After that is Kenya. After that is Tanzania. And then in the middle at the top is Mozambique, and then Portugal, USA and Canada, with many of our family and friends moved to. And then India and Pakistan. So through marriage and through long-term community ties, we maintain these relationships, and this tapestry of different hues of culture of our Kumbhar community have been enriched by all of the contributions by different people joining and widening the community. So continuing on, a picture with some of my most favorite friends. You can see Sabir Ba there, Mustafa Mahmoud there. We can see Anwar Ba there and Rashid Ba and Mehboob Ba. So in their youth, in the much younger years. Another very special picture, you can see Hawa Masi in this picture and Sakina Fui. Also we see Kerunani with her sister Zuleka Masi, who rejoined her after many decades of living separately on different continents. You can see how glowing and happy she appears there to be again with her sister. And then Saranani and Amina Nani. So a great photo there. So we got a picture of our Northampton chapter here. We've got Yunus Ba and Nazir Ba looking very young, Marum Anwar Ba, and then Akram Ba in the picture there as well. And then in the picture, we've got Hanif Nana, my dad, Isak Mamu, Haji Mamu, Jussa Mamu. We got Yakub Kaka there, Musa Dada, and then Hussein Fwa. So the 70s were full of us meeting and enjoying social and community events. Although we were not very well off, we would hire function halls and just meet there. And the weddings were a spectacle to be enjoyed, something we all used to look really forward to. So I thought one picture would probably capture the essence of the 70s. It's towards the end of the 70s. It's a very special picture. So I'll just put it here. I don't need to say too many words. I think the picture speaks volumes. That's Aman Uncle's registration. And I think it really captures the spirits of the 70s. So that's the end of the presentation. So to wrap up, just some reflections. I'm an academic and can't help but think what is next and how we've been so far. So just some reflection in terms of achievements. Many of us have made very good progress in terms of our careers and integration into the UK civil society, particular contributions in the NHS and post office and in the public sector, including the police, where we have attained the OBE for one of our community. People working also in security and education, as trade unionists, with high-flying careers in ICT, in project management, as engineers, working as contractors and business consultants, working in retail, in fashion, in the medical field, in dentistry, in ophthalmology. We also have mechanics, we have electricians and plumbers, and scientists, researchers, academics, lawyers, media, and people active in the political spheres. So a lot has happened, and thankfully, mostly through the progress in education. Noam Rahman was a big advocate, and I am as well, because I've spent the best part of my life in education and will continue to do so. So education is critical. There's something really quite interesting in terms of how integrated we are to British society. The girls have been outperforming boys in academic attainments nationally in the last few years, and that pattern is mirrored in at the community as well. So the girls are on top, and there's a big message to the boys: reduce your time on gaming and social media, and girls too, don't spend too much time on social media. Spend time with each other, get to know each other, and be with each other. I hope the photos we've seen in today's presentation give you a sense of how we were in the community. We had no social media, we had no computers, we only had terrestrial TV to keep us going and to keep us busy. So although on the left side of the screen, the achievements and accomplishments are many, which is pleasing, they're quite insignificant compared to the right side of the screen, because these are the values we as a community and as people hold. These are the values that our forefathers, who had no education, literacy, or religious training at all, espoused on us, and these are innate to our culture. So above all, I think we have compassion, we have humility, and we always work together as a community. And that's something I'm really much more proud of than all of the other achievements we've amassed over this time. So this is something I sincerely hope we can retain and continue in the future. And this is a really important message for the youngsters amongst us, because you may not have been through the same lives as us, and it's good for you to have a sense of what we've been through, so you understand why these values will be much more enduring than most of the material things that we all worry about. So big question in my mind has been, are we a clan or a community? Clans are basically very good when there is a common threat or a common enemy or a common problem. We saw that when we had to move from Uganda, many people, Isukaka, I can think of Gulam, but many people in our community stood up and helped others to get to the UK. So we are amazing when times are difficult. And we can see that when we see the attendances in funerals. It's astounding how well we come together in difficult times. But during good times, we tend to be a bit more infighting and squabbling. It's very common in a lot of Muslim tribal communities. So I've always thought we are a bit of a clan, we'll continue to be a clan, but something has really changed in the last, I say, 10 years or so. And the change has been actually mostly orchestrated by the women in our community. They've been doing this for the last 10 decades, not just the last decade, but also the new generation who've been brought up in the UK and educated in the UK. They've really transformed us into a fully functioning community, and that's manifested by all of the physical facilities that are being organized around the UK with community halls and gatherings. So I have to give a big shout out to the women and the new generation for taking us from being a clan to now what we are, a functioning community, and I hope that continues in the future. The timeline below is important because 1900 or thereabouts is when our forefathers moved from India 1972 is when we came to the UK. Now we're in 2022. That's 50 years. So in 2072, I hope our community, and I'm actually quite confident and quite sure our community will still be very active and very much in touch with each other. Will be greatly expanded and probably much wider than just the UK. And then 2100, who knows, we may even be on Mars by then. So thank you for all your time for listening to the presentation. I hope you found some of this of interest. And I'm so proud to be part of this community. It's my life, and I hope I'll continue to function and to contribute to the community to my last day. Thank you very much.